Hello. Hi, I'm Zoe McWhinney, and I'm very excited to share some BSL, British Sign Language poetry, and visual vernacular with you today. So this morning, I've got to tell you, I woke up and I realized that I'd lost my voice. It was like the clogs in the machine were clotted. I thought, what am I going to do? And then I realized, I've got my hands. I can use sign language. I don't need my voice. It's cool. So I walked out the door. I thought, it's fine. I can sign. I can write things down. I'll be fine. But I actually managed to find another voice on my travels. So my voice is the sound of silence. It's like, you know the word Q, the UE in that word Q? Well, that's what I am. But the second voice that I found is actually a human. She's called Erin. She's got a sign name as well, which is this, the sign name for lipstick. So she's the voice you can hear right now. So you might be one of the 150,000 people around the UK, and increasing, using British Sign Language. And some of you might even be learning BSL in lockdown, right? In quarantine. I see you guys. I appreciate you. And, sometimes I've got to let you know this thing that happens to me. People come up to me and they start signing to me in American Sign Language. And that's lovely, of course. I appreciate the effort. But I have to let you know that English and BSL are very different. Signed languages are not the sidekick of spoken languages. There's actually a whole different family tree going on there. So some people think sign language is just the alphabet, but that's absolutely not correct. So I'm very, very excited now that so many people have been learning sign language. It's absolutely brilliant. So I'm now going to start with a piece of VV, which stands for visual vernacular. And what that is, it's sign language distilled down to its essence. Its visual essence. So it is visually accessible to everybody, whether or not they sign. It's almost a little bit like mime and sign language combined. It's like the middle ground between those two things. So I'm very excited to show you this piece. It's an entry-level piece. Don't worry, it's not going to be scary. It's called Pond Life. And Erin, our lovely voice artist, she's not going to help you now. You're going to be left to fend for yourselves in silence. So, the next piece that I'm going to share with you is a piece of British Sign Language poetry. And I know that some of you might be interested to understand how sign language can have poetry and how that works. So I'm going to explain it just a little bit. So in sign language, the hand shapes themselves are what indicates the poetry. So some people think that the alphabet signed, which I'm showing you right now, is sign language. That's actually not. That's actually an English influence. The British Sign Language alphabet is the hand shapes. So that is what establishes the basis of the code of the language. And then on top of that is layered movement, facial expressions, and other aspects of the language. And that is how the language is made up. Like in English, how you've got sounds and letters and written text, and that creates the language of English. A sign language is completely distinct. It's its own language, and the facial expressions are just as important as the hand shapes. So in this piece of poetry that I'm going to show you, I want you to see if you can spot a few of these hand shapes. So this one I'm showing you right now, this hand shape means nothing, just doing it like this. But maybe you'll be able to see in the first stanza of the poem how I've incorporated that into the piece of poetry. And the second thing that I wanted to show you and tell you about is this hand shape here, which you can use for look, see, that kind of thing. But I add movement in my piece to add a more abstract meaning to it. And that gives it sort of a new sort of poetic form. So maybe I'll show you a little example. You could look passively, so you watch, but if the hand is moving backwards, it's almost a passive form of watching. It's untranslatable into English, really. So it's a way of adding a bit of poetic meaning onto it. And the poetry that I'm about to share now is about a part of my life where I felt really disconnected from myself, almost like an out-of-body experience. So I just want to bare my heart to you a little bit right now. I lay looking at the ceiling as fragmented shards of light glide across the canvas, seeping through the edges of closed curtains. Nighttime traffic passes by. My eyes like stones, two statutory objects, staring at the ghostly lights on the ceiling, lullabying, sometimes overlapping, saying, sleep, sleep, sleep. I turn my head and look at the body next to me, breathing in sync with mine. Your body's like a vessel, weathering the storms with the wind in its sails. Your body's like a chalice where your beautiful soul lives. So, thank you. And I'll just move straight on to my next poem. So this poem is called Illegitimacy. And it's about two languages cohabiting, sharing the same space, the same boundary, but with tension. Sometimes one or other wishes they weren't cohabiting. The majority language oppresses the minority, but that minority language is stubborn. It will not be stamped out because it's tied to deafness and disability. And that signed visual language, that aspect of disability, allows us to analyze society as a whole and the morality of humanity. And people who are disabled in our everyday lives, including deaf people, need recognition. The word is crowned king. It anchors. And it is the chains. Clasping the hands heavily, linearly, tightly. I am a signer, yet the sign for words is coming from my mouth. You are not a worder. The word is taken. Vocal cords vibrating out of the larynx, tongue and mouth twitching, honking out words. We are the languageless. The politics pull us down back to the linear. Signing, supporting English. English accusing sign. Thank you. Thank you so much. So that was my last poem. So I've been Zoe McWhinney at Crystal Palace in lockdown as part of this wonderful digital festival. Thank you so much. If you are interested in finding out a bit more about sign language poetry, you can look me up on Instagram, #BardofBSL. And thank you to Erin, my interpreter and voiceover artist. Thank you very much. Goodbye.